flies off all by itself. It does it itself. Okay?
Yeah, you're right there with me though.
Every time I open the hangar door to go flying, I realize that I'm one of the lucky guys doing something that I dreamt of as a kid.
We're back.
Hey everyone, this is Paul Bertorelli reporting for AvWeb. We are about 5 weeks out from Sun and Fun 2021. With me is Lights Leenhouts of Sun and Fun. Lights, we're getting ready to get the show kicked off. Where do we stand with things like expected exhibitors, level of attendees, and the planned air show and that sort of thing?
Well, Paul, it's great news to pass along. We're all systems go. First of all, most importantly, we have approval from the state of Florida, from our Polk County leadership in the city of Lakeland and the airport. They're all in full support of putting on the fly-in this year, 13 to 18 April. And the reason they're doing that is because we all conferred together with our COVID policies to ensure the safety of our guests, our volunteers, everybody's health and well-being is our number one priority. We obviously want to have the fly-in, but we got to do it smart, we got to do it safe, and we got to do it with the customer's safety in mind. Having said that, it looks like we're going to have a fly-in very similar to what we probably saw in the early 2000s. So our attendance is going to be down a little bit from the last 5 or 6 years as we've grown it back, but not substantial. Our ticket sales right now, advanced ticket sales, are on par with 2020 before the COVID hit. So we're really about where we normally would be. Exhibitors, on the other hand, they all want to be here, but some of the bigger companies, policies don't allow them to travel yet. So normal year, we'd have 500 exhibitors out there that are aviation related. This year, we're going to be around 385 to 390. So we're down between 20 and 22%. And we expected a 25% drop, but we're really holding a little bit better than that. Our plan for all the forums and the workshops is still in play, except there'll probably be less participation because we'll be spreading the people out in those tents. We're requiring that if you're in any enclosure, you have a mask on. We know that works. We have a cleaning crew that's going to clean every evening and deep clean, and major touch points will be cleaned every hour, on the hour, that kind of thing. Social distancing will be paramount. You'll have to have a mask to get into the event, and then we will ask that you wear it as appropriate. Now, the law in Florida doesn't require that you have a mask on outside when you're social distancing. And we're pretty much 2,000 acres and people are going to spread out. It'll be just fine. But when you're in a close conversation with somebody, you need to have a mask on. When you go into the exhibit halls, most of the exhibitors want you to wear a mask when you're conversing with them on their product. So the way it works is we're going to request that you wear it appropriately. You'll be required to get in with it on, and then hopefully you'll wear it in the right locations when you can't social distance.
So if you're getting about 80% of the regular exhibitors, what will those hangars look like? Will they be more spread out?
Yes, sir. We're not going to realign the hangars. We're just going to have spaces in there where exhibitors would have been but are not. So we're asking the exhibitors, if they don't feel comfortable, they can put up plexiglass. Most of them have walls from one exhibit to the other. They put up the pipe and drape, and that's just fine. So literally, it's an exhibitor's mask, if you will, that protects that area. It's only the front side where people walk by that if they want to put plexiglass between them and a potential buyer, then that's their choice. We're not going to provide that for them, or nor do we require it. That is an option that the exhibitor has to exercise. But we will require you to have that mask to come into the building, and hopefully you will keep it on. Now, we're not going to have the mask police going around throwing people out if they don't have it on. We will be asking you to wear it appropriately. We're all adults. We all want to enjoy this event. And the only way it's going to work is if we all follow the policies. I just had a meeting this morning with all the staff and volunteers. And if you're not in your office by yourself on our campus right now, you've got a mask on. Unless, of course, you're outside on your bicycle like I ride around all day long and I'm not wearing it there. But once I get close to somebody, well, if I'm within 10 feet, I've got a mask on. Everybody does. Every volunteer, every staff member.
Has Polk County set any restrictions or requirements?
No, sir. What we're imposing right here are just recommendations that we think are going to make sure we don't end up being some kind of a spreader of sorts. We just had over in Hillsborough County, the Super Bowl just took place. No problem. Everybody wore a mask. Now, what they do know is, this infection, this virus, doesn't transmit on surfaces as much as we thought it did, but it does transmit from the micro biological excretions from your lungs. That's where it does come from. So a mask is paramount to stop you from spreading it. And we're going to, advise people with signs everywhere to wear the mask and to wash your hands. Of course, that helps, obviously. But at the end of the day, the mask is the number one priority for people to be safe.
On the website, it says you're going to limit the number of attendee registrations. Is that still true?
Right. Yes, sir. And that applies to in the exhibit halls, in the forum tents, in the workshop areas. We'll be probably around 2/3 capacity just for the social distancing possibilities that it creates. And at the gate, we'll monitor the crowd so that we don't exceed something on the order of about 30,000 people a day. That's about the most we can handle. So once we get to that, there's not going to be any more people let in until people start leaving. And quite candidly, I don't think, as much as I would love to envision this giant mass of humanity coming out for our event, it's not going to happen. We know that. Let's face it, the economy has taken a hit. There are people out of work. There's companies that closed up. And aviation is a hobby, and it's a work for a lot of us, but most of the people look at it as a luxury, and it's discretionary cash to come to an aviation event. So there are people that are going to protect their money, and they may choose to go to Air. If you have a choice between Sun and Fun and AirVenture, well, of course you're going to go to AirVenture. I would do the same thing. It's bigger and it's a great event. And we all appreciate that. So we know that there are people that normally would come that are not going to. And the general public probably won't come out in the same numbers as we would typically see on the weekends in the past. So even though we're going to put a limit on it, I doubt we'll ever get to the limit.
Well, in a good year, say in 2019, what was it, 50,000 a day?
We would have over the week, over the 6 days, it would ramp up. Obviously, the first couple of days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, mostly fly-in traffic. And then by you got into Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which is more of a general public day, we would see on the order of 180,000 people come through here in a 6-day period. And so you just can imagine it would ramp up from maybe 15 to 20 on Tuesday, and then 30, and then 40, 50, 60, all the way to the end.
Okay. And how about airplane camping?
Airplane camping is going to be as normal. Obviously, you social distance out there because of the wingspan of the aircraft. So that works out really well. In our campsites, that takes care of itself as well. We don't really jam them in there. They're not side by side with only 10 feet between RVs. They typically have about 30 feet between RVs. So, and the campsites, the small tents, there's plenty of room out there. The only thing that we're really going to do this year that's probably most noticeable is that we're not going to have any evening events per se. There's not big, large gatherings of people. We just the other day decided that it's probably not a good idea to bring 1,500 of our volunteers together on Sunday night for a post-event thank you party. We call it the Tail Dragger, and that's probably not a good idea. So we're not going to do that. Even though it's outside under pavilion, it's still a lot of people in a small area. So we're going to be good citizens, and we'll show thanks in other ways, but we won't have that party on Sunday night. And a lot of the lunches that would normally happen, they won't happen either.
Will the pedestrian flow look any different?
No, sir, it won't. They'll be coming through the main gate. Obviously, we're going to, at the main entrance, where people will be lining up to buy tickets if they haven't already gotten them, we're going to ask people to separate out there, have a mask on, and you're going to separate by 6 feet. And then it'll just go a little further into the parking lot is all, but it's not going to be jammed up. People won't be huddled up all trying to fight their way up to get a ticket. They'll be spread out, and all the ticket windows will be open. And we'll have every single one will be open for purchasing, so we can keep the flow of people going.
Yeah, so I expect they'll be expected to distance in those lines as best they can.
Exactly. And we'll have people out there that'll be walking along saying, hey, could you back it up a little bit, please? You know, you're going to get your ticket, same length of time. Just give yourself a little room. That's all we're asking.
And how about the air show?
Air show is right on schedule. It's 1 to 5 every day. It might end up at around 4:30 on some days. It's going to be Tuesday through Sunday. And the Blue Angels, the only time it's going to be a little different is on Thursday. The Blue Angels will be arriving, and they own pretty much from noon to 4. And we'll have a little break in there for some Warbird flying. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are going to look like all the normal fly days. Obviously, this year, we've got the Blue Angels with the Super Hornet, and nobody's seen it. They were supposed to go to Jacksonville the weekend before us, but that's been canceled. So we will be the first inaugural Super Hornet Blue Angel demo, which is great. We're thrilled for that. And when we announced that, our social media activity went up exponentially into the tens of thousands, and like, okay, that's good. But all the rest of the acts are going to be there. None of the performers have said they won't come because of COVID. They're all anxious to be here. And I think it's a lot to do with the policies we put in place. We're going to ensure their safety. They'll be wearing masks in the briefs and before they go to the airplane. So everything is in play to ensure that we have got, our number one priority is the safety of all of our guests. You know, our goal here is to have a successful fly-in. And we talked about this long and hard with all the other events that are canceling around us. We said, wait a minute, we can do this smart. We're all adults. The aviation community are good men and women. They know how to handle themselves. And if you give them procedures and recommendations on how to stay safe, they're going to follow those. And we'll all come out of this on the other end having had a great experience. And okay, so a lot of your selfies are going to be with the mask on. All right, it'll be funny. Wear a decorative mask of some kind and make it enjoyable. But it's the new world order for right now. And by golly, we're going to have this fly-in and make sure everybody goes home the same way they got here, and they don't call us up and go, oh, I don't feel so well. We don't want that. If you don't feel well, don't come here. And if you're feeling good, make sure that you stay feeling good all week long and go home safe, happy, and healthy.
Okay, it sounds good. All of this is well described in detail on the website, and here's the URL for that. I'll put that on the screen. And we hope to see you there. I'll be there for part of the show. And Lights Leenhouts, I appreciate your giving us the update.
Absolutely, Paul. Thank you all very much for sharing this with everybody, and look forward to seeing you here on the 13th of April through the 18th.
It's Paul Bertorelli reporting for AvWeb. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Tom Gresham. Welcome to Wings to Adventure. Every year, the aviation season kicks off halfway between Tampa and Orlando. It's where you're going to go to see the latest and hot new airplanes and accessories. We're also going to look at some beautiful classics. The military shows up with its latest hardware. Come along with us as we explore the fly-in known as Sun and Fun. The annual Sun and Fun Fly-In has been a fixture in Central Florida since the 1970s. It was originally begun by pooling the resources of several regional fly-ins. There was indeed strength in numbers, and today people come from all over the world for the more than 400 workshops and forums, the daily air show, the on-site museum, and other programs and events. And the event is volunteer-driven. You could say it's a show for people who love airplanes by people who love airplanes.
The people who attend Sun and Fun, I think, are as diverse a group as you could possibly imagine. What we've been trying to do over the last couple of years is work very hard on our infrastructure, our site and our facilities. This year we really started putting together programs that appeal not only to our core aviation group, but extends beyond that, so that members of the general public who have an interest in history or education would come in as well. So we bring people who are flying their Homebuilt, who are flying their vintage aircraft, who are flying their Warbirds, rotorcraft, ultralight, light sport airplane. All of the aviation crowd is here. But in addition, we're trying to reach out more to the general public so that we can introduce them to aviation and get them more active and more involved. I think one of the reasons Sun and Fun has been so successful is that it's poised at the start of the aviation season. A lot of manufacturers come to Lakeland, Florida for the Sun and Fun fly-in because there's an awful lot of flyers, pilots, aviation enthusiasts from the north who haven't been able to continue their passion for aviation during the winter months. So they come down to Florida in April. All of the manufacturers are here and they're finding people who have been saving up their aviation budget. It hasn't been spent because nobody's been flying, and they're spending money down here. They're looking for the latest not only in airframe and engine combinations, but also in avionics and everything in between.
Sun and Fun is the second biggest annual aviation event of its kind, and like other large fly-ins, keeping the thousands of aircraft movements coordinated is an important and sometimes frustrating job. The man who pulls it all together is Greg Harbaugh, a former space shuttle mission specialist with 4 trips and 3 spacewalks under his belt.
The way you deal with the overall operations is by dealing with individual areas and then integrating them into a collective whole and making sure that that integration works. For example, we have a flyby pattern, a ride hopper pattern, we have arrivals and departures, we have chopper town, helicopter operations, ultralight operations, and then of course for 3 hours a day we have an air show. So we look at each of those areas with the experts in that area and say, is this the best we can do, or is there anything we can improve? And then we overlay that in layers and make sure that they're all compatible, that they all play together.
Arrivals and departures are, of course, fun to watch, but your average visitor wants to see planes that do more than just take off or land. They came to see an air show. When we come back, our cameras go inside the Air Show Control Center. We head on down to Chopper Town. And you're invited to the coming out party for the most advanced fighter plane in the world. Don't touch a thing. You have wings to adventure. You know, I like options. Maybe it's my outdoor background, but survival has always been a big deal with me. So recently, I bought one of these personal locator beacons. Think of it as an ELT that you carry around with you, but it's a whole lot more than that. A traditional ELT in an airplane will get the rescuers to within 10 miles. This has a GPS built in. When you set this off, they not only get the signal, they know exactly where you are. It gets the rescuers to within 10 feet of you. It couldn't be simpler. You flip out the antenna, you raise that, you hold these buttons down, and it sends out a signal. Now, I have registered this particular unit, so the search and rescue people, when they get this signal, they know it's my unit. They'll call my house, they'll say, "Where's Tom?" "Well, he's in Alaska." "Ah, we're getting a signal from Alaska." They know it's the real deal. They'll send the people out. For a few $100s, you get peace of mind, and you may just stay alive.
Great show, Michael.
In essence, he's the conductor of an elaborate symphony in the sky. He's the air boss. His name is Wayne Boggs, and it's his job to tell the performers when to come on and off the air show stage at Florida's annual week-long Sun and Fun Fly-In.
Your number one focus is safety. Of course, there's a lot of variables in it, but here again, your number one focus is safety. You want to keep the show on time. You want to go as choreographed, one performer following another. Generally, you're working with all professionals, which actually sometimes make your job very, very easily. As long as there's two things that's going to alter your briefing. One would be weather. If weather moved in, things will change. Another would be an emergency. In the event of an emergency, of course, your whole timeline is going to shift, and there's a lot of variables involved in that. Of course, you have a briefing before you fly, and you talk about emergency procedures and certain contingencies that could possibly happen, but there's nothing in the world that can prepare you or anyone else in a catastrophic emergency. Someone comes down like a bag of hammers in the middle of your box. But due to the briefings that you have, as you brief the pilots, go over the air show timelines, talk about emergency procedures, divert fields, contingency plans, crash, fire, rescue, and these types of things. You prepare and try to turn over every pebble you possibly can. The paramount, as I said before, is safety. You're keeping the show on time. You don't want any dead time between acts. You want the other act to be able to start in a relatively very quick period after one act ends. It's entertainment. Whether you've got a Broadway show or you've got an air show, you're entertaining a crowd. Now, we've got greater responsibilities maybe than a Broadway show does, because you're dealing with human life and these types of things, so you look at things differently, but you're still entertaining a crowd.
A portion of the airport that has its own unique flight ops procedures for the week is the area known affectionately as Chopper Town.
In 1990, I started the Chopper Town area. We picked a site location, and I decided I wanted to try to be able to fly at the same time as having all the helicopters come here. So we picked the far end of the airfield here on the southeast end and developed the whole entire area. Helicopter flying is kind of like standing on a beach ball and trying to balance yourself. At the same time trying to hold a dinner plate and put it on your head at the same time. Although helicopters can go straight up and down, they still need forward speed to some degree for the safety aspect of that. The helicopter community is involving not only helicopters that create their own power, but also gyros who also stay in a constant state of auto rotation when they're flying. Forward speed is what excels or decels the rotor RPM with that. A lot of things are kind of unique to Chopper Town in itself, in the fact that we have a full-blown golf course sprinkling system here, so we keep that damp in the evenings and keeps the dirt nice, and so we don't have dust storms normally associated with helicopters. It is awfully fun. It's what I call the last of the seat of the pants flying. The steerman folk in the biplane world thinks that they really have an edge on seat of the pants flying. Not true. The rotary wing world is really where it's at. If things are going too fast for you, pull back a little bit and slow it up.
If you want to get away from it all, but still see some incredible aircraft in action, there's no better place than the Sun and Fun Seabird Splash-In. Don't touch a thing, you have wings to adventure. Whether you're looking for beautiful personal aviation planes, classic military aircraft, or a whole lot of information in one place, Sun and Fun is the place to be. If you want to get away from it all, but still see some incredible aircraft in action, there's no better place than the Sun and Fun Seabird Splash-In. Located at the Lake Parker Recreation Area, 6 nautical miles northeast of the main convention grounds. Due to its popularity, in 2004 the event was divided into 2 days. The first is for Homebuilt, light sport and ultralight aircraft. The second is for factory-built seaplanes.
After the first 3 or 4 years, we knew that we had a right location to stay here, and the Park Service of the city of Lakeland was anxious for us to stay. And we came out here, we must have been 20 or 25 of us here, and we went all over this park, including this crazy shoreline, and planted trees, which are now the bane of our beaching existence here. Deep down in the chest of most all pilots, they admire and would love to emulate a floatplane pilot or become one. And there are an awful lot of schools here in Florida that are now offering 3-4 day courses in your seaplane ratings, and they're making good money off of the land-based pilots that have finally discovered another dimension.
If you need to really get away, if the sun and heat and the noise are just too much for you, and even the water runways at the Seaplane Splash-In aren't relaxing enough, may we suggest that you return to the Sun and Fun grounds and go directly indoors to the Florida Air Museum. The 20,000 square foot museum has been open to the public for more than a decade, and plans are currently underway to expand the facilities 5-fold. The collection is comprised of more than 50 aircraft. There are also special exhibits such as the Howard Hughes collection, purchased from the Hughes Corporation. Thousands of items have been cataloged and displayed since the exhibit was opened in 2004. Including Hughes's personal flight suits, medals, and trophies, and models of the XF-11, the H-1 Racer, and the Hercules HK-1, the Spruce Goose. Thousands of photographs and documents are part of the collection. There are more than 1,000 drawings of the XF-11 alone. It's not surprising that people think of Sun and Fun as just a one-week event, but as the museum and a multitude of other programs attest, it's a year-round affair.
I think one thing that people don't realize about Sun and Fun is that we're a year-round organization. There are a lot of people, especially within the aviation community, that recognize Sun and Fun as one of aviation's premier activities. But what we're doing is taking what we do during the fly-in and extending it year-round. And that's particularly the case with our education programs, where we're taking our forums and workshops and trying to extend those year-round with a special emphasis on appealing to young people.
When Wings to Adventure returns, it's fast, it's sneaky, and by the time you know it's coming, it's too late. The F-22 Raptor, right after this. In aviation, you can never underestimate the power and appeal of a big information exchange. We've seen why airplane aficionados come to Lakeland, Florida each spring to visit the Sun and Fun Fly-In Convention. Examples are everywhere we turn. But what makes it worthwhile for the aircraft designers and exhibitors to come? There's a special appeal, and it's not just because it's the first major aviation event of the year.
We get a lot of Europeans that come here. A lot of people come here because it's easy to get to Orlando from almost anywhere in Europe. We get a lot of South Americans that come here. We get a lot of people that come in, go to Miami or Orlando and then come over here for this event, and then they maybe go to Disney World for a while. So it's a very good place to reach the foreign market.
Another person vitally interested in quality communication with the assembled crowds is Phil Boyer, president of the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, the biggest membership-based aviation advocacy organization in the country.
The most typical way to look at general aviation is, I like to say, like the little license plate holder, my second car is an airplane. And just like we use our cars for business and personal transportation, we drive them to work, we may make business appointments with them, we may go visit children or grandparents with a car, or we may go shopping. We use an airplane the same way. And many people, especially with the cost of a used plane today being fairly reasonable, will pay less for their entry-level airplane than they will for the Escalade or a big SUV that many of us find people driving.
There are also exhibitors of aircraft hardware and components. Tim Rail is the president of Tornado Alley Turbo, a company that sells the turbo normalizing system, an add-on that allows an airplane engine to maintain sea-level horsepower at altitude, which makes for faster climbs and higher cruise speeds.
Well, it's always a great show for us at Sun and Fun. We generally sell a lot of product here, and we see lots of our customers that we've already sold game ejectors and turbo systems to, who stop by the booth and check on new developments, and so we have a good time as well. Okay, this is probably our 7th year coming to Sun and Fun. This is a difficult place to get a booth in if you're a new vendor trying to get a booth. Usually takes a couple years to get in, but we've been in this location in Building A for 7 years now. And it's a great location, and it's a great show. We enjoy it very much.
One of the really cool things here at Sun and Fun is seeing stuff like this. The first ever civilian showing of the F-22 Raptor. Stealthy, fast, and very, very cool. 2 Raptors are here from the 1st Fighter Wing of Langley Air Force Base in Virginia. Langley is the only Air Force base that has an operational F-22 squadron. Major Jack Miller fills us in on the greatest fighter aircraft in the world.
What we have here behind me is the F-22A Raptor, and it takes us to the next level as the most dominant fighter in the world. It is just not air superiority as we have with our legacy aircraft, but this is air supremacy. It controls the skies, it controls the ground, and it has the most incredible sophistication you could imagine. What it does is it has air-to-air and it has air-to-ground capability. It also has, unlike most fighters that we have in our legacy aircraft, this one not only controls the skies, but it controls the skies and it's stealth. So this thing, the F-22 Raptor, can go in stealth, undetected. It goes faster than anything else out there. It goes in undetected, and the way we describe it is it's like trying to get in a fight with Mike Tyson and being blindfolded, because they can't see you. They can't see you, they can't shoot you. So they go in, they hit their targets, and in stealth. It has also, it's called Super Cruise, so it can go supersonic without using afterburners.
At 35,000 pounds of thrust, the F-22 has about double the capabilities of an F-15. The vectored thrust can actually pivot the propulsion at the exhaust. All that power, and Lieutenant Colonel Wade Tolliver is the lucky guy who gets to fly it.
It is an absolute thrill to fly this jet. This jet handles like a dream. So when you have the opportunity to actually take this thing off and fly it, I feel lucky every time I just get to sit in a seat and go fly. It's just an exciting day for me to go to work. So I really enjoy flying it. It is a very, what we call user-friendly airplane. It's very easy to fly. Now, employing it as a weapon system, that's a little bit different. That takes some training, and it takes a lot of hard practice and work to get good at that. It's a large airplane. It's almost the same size as an F-15. It's about a foot shorter, but it's a foot wider. It's a little bit heavier than an F-15, but it performs like the F-16. I mean, it'll turn on a dime, and it just handles like a dream.
For Lieutenant Colonel Tolliver, it's about the people who've come to see the F-22. The people of Florida. He grew up in Kissimmee, about 25 miles away from Lakeland, and all the people who pay his salary.
What we understand, and we want to make sure they understand, is this is their aircraft. We're just the lucky souls that get to go out and fly it every day for them. But this aircraft is made to protect them. They pay for it, and I want them to understand what a good weapon system they've bought here.
Wow, the F-22 Raptor, what a piece of hardware. Well, I'll tell you what, Sun and Fun was everything we thought it would be. It's a great way to start the aviation season. I'm Tom Gresham for Wings to Adventure. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, my name is Lieutenant Commander John Allison, Blue Angel number 5 and lead solo pilot for the United States Navy Blue Angels. My dad had a small airplane, and it just got me very, very interested in it. You know, obviously he would let me fly a little bit, and I just liked it. I was attracted to it from the start. Started taking some lessons from him. He was an instructor. I just loved it, absolutely loved it. I got my pilot's license before my driver's license, actually. What's impressed me the most about this team is that the level of teamwork, the level of professionalism basically eclipses anything that I've ever seen. These guys are great. For me, it's a little slice of America, but I feel that anybody can do this. It doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter what your background. If this is what you want to do, you can do it. And that's why I fly airplanes. That's why I fly for the Navy, and that's why I do what I do. Because if one kid walks away from this show thinking that he can do something he didn't think was possible, then we did our jobs.
The Blue Angels have been around since 1946. 61 years ago, Admiral Chester Nimitz knew that the Army Air Corps was becoming the Air Force, and he wanted to make sure that Congress kept spending for naval aviation. Therefore, he tapped on the shoulder of a young lieutenant commander, a war hero, a fighter ace by the name of Roy Butch Boris. And back then, he started the Navy Flight Demonstration Squadron that we now call the Blue Angels.
Another thing that most people don't know about the Blue Angels in our demonstration is the fact that we do not fly with G-suits. The G-suits are kind of like the blood pressure cuff that you get at the doctor's office, except it's around your calves, your thighs, and your midsection to help you fight the Gs. The computers help you think along with the jet. So as Gs are pulled, that blood is kept up in your upper half of your body, closest to your brain. So the reason why we don't wear G-suits is very, very simple. If you're dogfighting, it's very unpredictable. There's a lot of heavy G loads, and you just can't process that information fast enough. So the computers on board the jet will inflate and deflate your G-suit to help you along in that process of dogfighting. On the other hand, our demonstration is very, very finely choreographed. It's the same maneuvers. It's on that roller coaster track. The same demonstration that we do week in and week out becomes very familiar to the pilots. So they know the onset of G is coming. They know how to fight it, and they're working well in advance of the maneuvers. The problem is with the stick right between their legs, they use their arm as a fulcrum on their thigh, and there's a 40-pound spring on that jet for inverted flight. So it's like sitting in a chair in your room with the 40-pound dumbbell doing this for 48 minutes. That tends to take a lot of energy out of your arm. So to compensate, they use their thigh as a fulcrum. When they do that, if they had G-suits on, the bladders would inflate and deflate as they were taking G, which could cause PIO, or pilot-induced oscillation. So the stick could be bumped by their wrist, which is bumped by the air bladders. And that is actually less safe than flying without the G-suits in the first place.
I came to flying late in life. To me, the lessons, the life lessons that one learns when you accept the responsibility of piloting aircraft are the most valuable lessons. It was work. It was, it's amazing, an amazing experience.
think it's really important for everybody to understand that the average F-18 squadron has about a dozen jets and about 250 to 260 people. The Blue Angels have about a dozen jets, but we also have a C-130. We have 110 people. And when we go on the road, we take about 7 jets with us, depending on the show site. We also take Fat Albert. And oh, by the way, we have the oldest F-18s in the Navy and Marine Corps, and we only take about 50 enlisted personnel with us. So for every hour that a jet flies, we can expect somewhere around 20 to 25 man-hours of work to go into this jet to make sure that it's ready for the following air show. In some cases, we may need parts, and Fat Albert may have to go make a late run. But by and large, the next day, you can expect a full lineup of jets. And a testament to our troops and what they've done. In 61 years, we've never had to cancel an air show due to maintenance inavailability of our aircraft.
Oh boy, I was, as a kid, I was an aviation nut, and it was only when I started racing cars when I was about 15 and a half that I kind of got away from it. But I got my pilot's license when I was 17. I always dreamed of being able to fly in the military. Jack's been an unbelievable influence on my aviation career, I guess. You know, he's really allowed me to go out and do the things I want to do in aviation, and he's facilitated some things and taken me up in his jet, and he says he's going to give me a ride in his P-51, but he's taught me a lot flying along. I don't know if you've ever flown with Jack, but he's a heck of a teacher, and you know, he'll only tell you once, and then he'll yell at you when you forget, but he makes an impression, and he's a great guy and a great aviator. The flight we just took was unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I just can't describe it. You know, the whole event's amazing. It's an amazing aircraft, and the things that Kojak, Kevin there, could do with it were pretty spectacular. He almost got me unconscious. He got me to the point where I didn't care. That was pretty close.